Спілкуванні.
Спілкуванні.
Спілкуванні. Слідкуванні it's following someone, like chasing someone.
Okay.
And спілкуванні is communication.
Okay.
Зберігати.
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 Збрехати is to lie. Збрехати. And зберігати is to keep.
Wow, you just make a small change and it completely...
Yeah.
Balakun, a bridge to Ukraine. Join the conversation at balakun.co.
Балакун – міст в Україну. Долучайтесь до наших розмов на www.balakun.co.
Please subscribe!
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. So my name's Sandy and I started this project Balakun, which is a way of connecting Ukrainians who want to learn English with, they don't have to be native speakers, but just fluent speakers of English around the world. And we've got 150 matches and people from 25 different countries involved. And it's turning into a really cool project. And one way that we're trying to grow is by making this podcast where Vít and I talk about life inside Ukraine now, because he can give us an inside perspective, but also to try and convince people that this is a really good way of spending their time. And it helps for people who are in Ukraine to have an outlet, someone to talk to, as well as practicing their English. Vít was one of the first students who signed up to the project. He's been very enthusiastic about the project and also, doing research and giving an insider's perspective about Ukraine. And we try to have guests who have some experience there, who are from there or who have lived there, and just to tell us a little bit about, what their perceptions were like, how things are going, what they did there, and that sort of thing. So, but I'll let Vít introduce himself.
I'm Vít. I'm a student of Balakun project, and I wanted to contribute to enlarge a project and to improve it. And a podcast is one of the ways to let people know more about life in Ukraine, as Sandy said, and giving some perspective of a person who lives here, who is Ukraine born, and talking about some normal in the nightmare.
We'd love to hear about things like your motives for going to Ukraine, what you did while you were there, what organizations you were involved in, your perceptions.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So off the top of my head, why I went there, well, at first, I guess years ago, I got highly into studying just in my spare time, like what disinformation and that sort of things were and where it was all coming from. And I guess the whole entire, when COVID kicked off, that's when we really seen the true power of disinformation around all sorts of different parts of the globe. And I guess, yeah, we when Russia sort of started to build up its army and that, we started to see this rise of disinformation again. And I remember one of the things before the invasion was happening, that there was a huge warning that the Russian propaganda will go into overdrive, and we started seeing that. And of course, once the full-scale invasion kicked off, I guess, yeah, there's no doubt that everyone did see that Russian propaganda went through the roof. I guess luckily for Ukraine, they did win the information war at the start, but yeah, for me, that was a huge reason I did head there, because due to the disinformation and that, I knew we had to help in a sense. So, the huge injustice that was happening, basically, this whole war was sort of made out by them to be something that's very specifically not.
Did you have a sense that you needed to be there, or did you just want to help in any way that you could?
Well, yeah, I sort of was in a position where I could head over. I had the, I'm not rich, but I had the financials to be able to do it behind me. And also I have a pretty flexible sort of job working schedule. So I don't work just a normal 9 to 5, I do projects. I could work for a month straight and then have a month off, or I could work for 2 weeks and have 2 weeks off, or I could work for 4 months and have, 2, 3 months off. So in my spare time, I figured, well, yeah, the information war is a huge part of it. And also being on the ground will help with that, which I have received a lot of messages about people. They're saying, oh man, like we really liked what you're doing, not just because, you're in Ukraine, but also like because you highlight the disinformation. So a lot of people are affected by disinformation from even within our own society, and obviously, yeah, people sort of starting to figure out where it's all sort of coming from with the Russian Federation and all sorts of troll farms to do with a lot of authoritarians. But yeah, I figured that I could go a step further rather than what do they say on Twitter? Bonking vatniks. So yeah, I figured, yeah, I could actually get in the country, be on the floor, and offer more help, and then also just being there will also amplify the fighting of the disinformation.
News, what's in news?
What's your news today?
My news for today is Ukrainian hackers steal technical documentation on 500 objects of Russian Defense Ministry. Hackers from Blackjack Group, probably related to the SBU, Special Service of Ukraine, hacked the servers of the Russian state-owned enterprise main military construction directorate for special facilities, which is building military facilities throughout the territory of the Russian Federation. And informed source told Interfax Ukraine, and I'm quoting Interfax Ukraine right now, that's news of Thursday, the 18th of January. According to agency Interlocutor, hackers downloaded more than 500 passports of military facilities of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, arsenals of weapons, sites of anti-aircraft missile systems, headquarters, barracks, including those located in the occupied territories of Ukraine, as well as other technical and design documentation. Hackers also demolished 7 servers and encrypted more than 150 computers of the institution's employees, as a result of which most Russian special builders were left without the entire array of data and backup copies of information.
Go hackers. Good job.
Hacking some taxation system is crucial for this war. It won't bring victory, but it will help to gain it.
Yeah, well, every little thing helps.
Yeah, especially something that goes with defense or missiles or something like that.
My news, my good news. Cape Verde becomes the first African country in 50 years to eradicate malaria.
Oh.
Cape Verde has gone for 3 years without a single case of transmission. Because it's a complex of islands, all international travelers and migrants have free access to malaria diagnosis, which has been one of the nation's strategies for controlling the spread of the parasite. Active mosquito control has also helped, as well as a general rise in the standard of testing and treatment.
News, what's in news?
I just wanted to ask a standard question that I asked another guest. Our first episode was about perceptions of Ukraine in the world before full-scale invasion, like when Ukraine became very famous around the world. And my question is, what did you know before full-scale invasion about Ukraine? As I guess not much, but could you be precise?
Yeah, you're correct. I'd be lying if I said that I knew like a lot of this history that I know now about Ukraine. I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, I know more about Ukraine now than I ever would, and that's due to, unfortunately, the current events. But before that, my perception, I always wanted to go there. I wanted to do a big trip through Eastern Europe back about 10 years ago, So at that time, I was looking at going to back then, before I knew what they were doing, like going to Moscow and stopping in Kiev. And then I was always confused how to spell Kiev because, that's how little I knew about Ukrainian and Russian language. So, yeah, every time I typed in a certain place I wanted to stay, it wouldn't come up because I was spelling it Kyiv instead of Kiev. And so obviously my knowledge of Ukraine was very, very little.
What was your perception when you actually arrived and started meeting people?
Very surprised. I'll be honest, when I first thought I was going there, I was like, oh, this place is going to be a hole. I was like, it's just going to be old Soviet bloc USSR housing. And then I arrived into Lviv and I found like beautiful old Cossack architecture. And I arrived into Kiev and seeing all the big old monasteries and that, and the parks and the Dnipro River. And I was I was blown away. It was a lot more beautiful than I thought, that's for sure.
Explain your meme.
So the meme for today is a screenshot of a dialogue when one person says, "My throat freaking hurts." And the reply is, "It's because you used to speak Russian with it."
Russophobia Anonymous. Russophobes Anonymous.
Like Sternenko says, our Russophobia is not enough. He used to say it alone before the full scale.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd never heard the word before the war started. Can you tell us, where did you spend most time while you were there?
Generally out Kharkiv and Dnipro. So it'd be, I'd say, the two major sort of cities. And then obviously when doing like humanitarian aid work and that sort of stuff, we travel all over, out the Donbass, down Zaporizhia, so the hot zones.
Were you working with organizations that people would have heard of, or were you independent?
To be honest, I'm mainly just self-funded, so I go over there on my own wages. I teamed up with another New Zealand guy over there. He's pretty well known, everyone knows him, Owen Pamana. And I did a lot of helping with him. I know a lot about drones as well, so I do a lot of drone flying in my own real life. So I was quite interested, also helped out a lot in that sector to do with the innovation and development of things.
I saw a post on your Twitter that I'm going to share in the description about how to make your own FPV drone. I think that was great.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, it sounds crazy, like to build your own drone in your kitchen, but really it's something that is that simple. And if we could potentially get a nation of people that when they come home after work, they put, a drone or a couple of drones together, I mean, it'll be a huge contribution to that war effort, because right now we don't know how long this war will go on. And also I'm sure everyone knows with the US aid being cut, we might not necessarily have the toys we once were receiving. So, yeah.
Is your background in engineering or something like that, or is this just a hobby?
No, it's not, to be honest. It's engineers can build all the fancy stuff. I'm just good at playing around with it and wrecking it. So, yeah.
And speaking of drones, the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine just asked everyone to learn how to do drones. Actually, we have those school of drones, how to make it. We have these tutorials and like state program for it. And I think it's amazing because everyone could contribute and everyone could join this project. I've seen that image that we were talking about, and I thought it was harder. And when I saw it, it was very simple. Yeah, and drones are just game changing.
Yeah, they really are. And if you had told me at the start of the war, if you put a picture of, say, a $500 at the max, at the most, FPV drone next to a $5 million to $10 million Bayraktar and said, which would you take? I would have pointed to the Bayraktar every day, but now we can see that the damage is actually being done by these $500 things you can build in your kitchen.
Fun fact.
We have this Center for Countering Disinformation in Ukraine, a state organization, and it has issued a handbook on countering disinformation. And this handbook was developed by the Center for Countering Disinformation, a working body of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, with the support of European Union Advisory Mission in Ukraine. And this guidebook is actually available online. It has many guidance for people who are communicating or using different social media, like Twitter, some Telegram channels, YouTube, Facebook. This handbook talks about deepfakes and propaganda in media resources. So there are some case studies and recommendations for countering harmful informational influence and communicating with the target audience. And this manual has been created in response to the actions in the information space taken against Ukraine by its advisories. Every month, Ukraine faces thousands of information and cybersecurity threats, psychological threats, and other type of threats from the Russian Federation and its satellite allies. The enemy is well aware of the modern warfare is not limited to land, sea, air, and space. Modern warfare also involves information and cyberspace, which are used in concert to achieve one's main goal of forcing the enemy to do their bidding. So this is very useful guidebook.
Is it in English?
It is also in English, yeah. It's in English and in Ukrainian. You mentioned that you take part in fighting disinformation and Russian propaganda. What's the main difficulty of fighting it, and what challenges do you come across?
Well, I guess the main thing is the way they use their psychological warfare. So the fire hose of falsehood. Even if you can debunk something or prove something wrong, they've still got another 9 or 10 things that they're convinced. So, you could prove, I don't know, what's one of the propaganda? Oh, they're just going there to protect ethnic Russians. Even once you say, well, no, that's a whole heap of bullshit, and they're not there protecting Russian speakers. I hang out with Russian speakers in Kharkiv every day, and yeah, they're killing these people. Well, then they'll jump onto, well, yeah, but they had biolabs, or but yeah, they had NATO. So they are successful in their way, but they do promote their propaganda, unfortunately. And it can seem like you're banging your head against a wall sometime for a lot of people because, yeah, once you debug something, it's very easy for people just to move on to the next talking point they've put out there.
Yeah, it feels like by the time you've finished debunking one argument, they've already made 10 more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're just masters of psychological abuse. They gaslight all the time. So it's very hard to find some arguments to make a point or to make common sense, because they just making everything absurd.
Yeah, exactly. And like I explained it to a friend the other day, and he said, "Whoa, like that was exactly me." But it's designed if it can't convince you that it's an information overload. So then you just give up because you don't know. And he says, "Oh, that's where I'm at. I don't know what's going on because I hear this, I hear that. So I just go, okay, whatever." And I explain like, well, that's a win for them. That means that they've succeeded, that they can carry on blatantly, bombing hospitals and torturing people and trying to basically, ethnic genocide and get away with it because people don't know what's going on.
When you meet people who are from Western countries and buy into it, is it incredibly frustrating for you about, you have all of these sources of information, yet you go for this?
Oh, yes and no. I've got a lot better at dealing with them, that's for sure. Obviously, yeah, if I said what I wanted to say to them or do what I'd like to do to them, I'd be fighting. I'd just be I'd be consistently fighting people and probably in prison. So yeah, you have to explain to them as quickly as possible, which is difficult because obviously, to talk about a complex information sphere and what a psychological warfare is and what disinformation is, it takes quite a bit. But my general consensus is I just tell them straight away, well, look, this is how Russian propaganda works. It's designed to just be an information overload. The story changes every 2 seconds, from its NATO to its biolabs to its Nazis to its ethnic Russian speakers. Ukraine's story never changed once. It's self-defense. It's purely self-defense. So, yeah, if you want to believe in all the Russian propaganda, go for it. But end of the day, the Ukrainians have never changed their story once about what this war's about and what's happening. And then, generally they are, it generally just gets left at that. But you've planted a seed in someone's head, I guess.
I find it quite frustrating in New Zealand that people don't see it as something that affects them. Do you feel the same, or do you?
Oh yeah, for sure. New Zealand. I guess we're a little bit ignorant, but unfortunately, it is. I do see our new government mentioning security a lot more, which is good, taking it a lot more serious. Because I think to bury our heads in the sand and think it couldn't be us. Well, I can tell now, everyone just says, oh, we've got no resources, blah, blah, blah. War's all about surprise. And you never know. Surprise is a big part of it. And you don't want to be on the receiving end unprepared for something.
Try to pronounce it.
Let's start with mine, with the Ukrainian one. I've picked one. The word is glust.
Halust.
Glust.
Halust. Can you write it in the chat?
Yeah, sure. Glust.
Halust. Halust. Billy wants to say it too. Halust. Halust.
The meaning of the word is more like a mind, but this word is also used to describe sanity.
Okay.
So the sentence is: при спілкуванні в Твіттері важливо зберігати здоровий глузд. While communicating in Twitter, it's important to keep sane mind.
Okay. Can you say it again slowly?
Yeah, sure. При спілкуванні в Твіттері важливо зберігати здоровий глузд.
Please. Okay. Спілкувані в Твіттері важливо зберігати
Зберігати
здорові
глузд.
глузд.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to practice. Okay, your turn.
Okay. Is it a medical term?
It is.
Wow. I love medicine, actually.
Okay. You'll find this easy then.
You can pay me back for her sound by picking the hardest one.
I'm gonna pick 3 of them.
And then you'll cut the worst that I done.
Yeah.
You must be kidding me. Splenomegaly,
Mm-hmm.
ulcerative colitis, ulcerative colitis,
Ulcerative colitis.
colitis, vasculitis,
Vasculitis.
vasculitis.
Do you want to do that again or no?
I can do this. splenomegaly,
Mhm.
ulcerative colitis.
Mhm.
What's colitis?
Well done. Did you meet a lot of Ukrainians, and how was your communication with them? And do you think that having people from outside Ukraine to practice speaking to would be beneficial for people who are trying to learn?
Yeah, look, English is in Miss or Ukraine, it's either they can speak it or they can't. There's no real in between, you know. It's yeah, obviously a lot of that's due to the whole Soviet thing, you know. Russian was always their second language, and yeah, Russian was their business language, etc. But now with that all changing, I mean, when I first turned up to Kiev, you know, the train station was always in Ukrainian and Russian announcements. Now it's only in Ukrainian and English. So, and yeah, I think something like this definitely helps. But a lot of Ukrainians, their own will to learn English is also helping. You know, I was with a Uber driver and I didn't know, but they had like a whole Telegram chat with a big group of Ukrainians learning to speak English, and they all go and watch English movies and they go drink at expat pubs and stuff. So yeah, they invited me, and yeah, I joined along with them, and that's all they wanted to do was just speak English to learn. So yeah.
I think the main problem here for Ukrainians to speak English is this barrier that they cannot overcome. They just cannot start talking. They cannot just start speaking to another person. Like they were studying English at school, where they had those rules, they had those words and those handwritten dictionaries, and nothing talkative there, no practice of free speech. So this is crucial for language learning. So it's just practice that is necessary for one.
Yes, for sure. I mean, also like, Ukraine, you know, people aren't necessarily as financially to be able to go travel, whereas, you know, when you travel, you're kind of in a position where the mutual language is English no matter where you go. So you're going to have to speak it or have a difficult trip.
Yeah, and the funny thing here, one of our students told that her main motivation of learning English was to fight in informational war with people from another countries to make a point. Yeah, so she could communicate in a more proper way.
Oh, that's good because, yeah, I mean, as stupid as it sounds, it might just sound like you're arguing online. I mean, it's very important. Syria will tell you, or Georgia will tell you, or Chechens will tell you what happens when Russia win an information war.
Sometimes I think foreigners don't know who the best people to donate to are, who the best people to support are. Do you have any tips about, you know, where people should be spending their energy and their time?
Literally, I just get random messages from people off Twitter. You know, I had a New Zealand film director one day in Paris say, "Mate, I've just finished filming a scene for Rugby World Cup. I've got a DJI Mavic 3 cinema drone here. Like, do you want to come grab it?" So that was me. You know, I jumped on the train, went into Paris, got it, and then within a few days, it was on the front line in Zaporizhia with the 98th. So, I mean, as far as donations go, I'd just say just stick to the big ones. I mean, obviously, yeah, there's people on Twitter people like to donate to, and they all have really good reach in that. But yeah, I mean, United 24 is the main one for Ukraine. I don't ask for anything personally, especially money, because yeah, that as you can see, there's always big accusations going on about where's this money going and who's grifting and that. But yeah, I mean, do look out on social media. There's people and smaller sort of aid groups that are running things out there to soldiers personally, or people in the country personally, because a lot of the NGOs are under very strict ruling, and a lot of things unfortunately don't get delivered. You know, a lot of like these guys that required a drone, it all has to go to a commander has to sign it. Like, they don't have printers out there. You know, Commander's not even on the front line. He's somewhere back in a cafe in Kharkiv, you know, like, so yeah, quite often it can be beneficial to avoid some bigger charities and give it to more smaller ones that have a bit of a better personal connection with the guys on the front who can just deliver something right then and there. But at the same time, I mean, yeah, if you're worried about where things might go or that, and yeah, then obviously just stick to your bigger sort of NGOs, and for sure, hopefully it will reach someone in good time.
What a joke!
The joke for today: how to know when Russians lie if their mouth is opened. And actually, there's one I wanted to ask. It's this many people told, like some mentors also told, that they wanted to visit Ukraine, but they wanted to visit it like tourists after the war is finished. And we had a guest, Rick the Ukrainian. He told, why should one delay their visit to Ukraine? And everyone could just come right away. They don't need to wait till anything. So it can be a bit not safe, but there are precautions you can take, and it would be safe, not on the front line, obviously, but in the central or the western part of Ukraine. And I think that for people to know more about Ukraine, one should just visit Ukraine and see how it's like here, what people are like. And I wanted to ask you a question. What would you recommend for a tourist to visit in Ukraine?
I'd definitely say Odessa. Odessa is a very beautiful city. You know, I guess it's your guys' sort of version of like a little Miami. Um, yeah, my goal is Crimea, but we have a someone that's unwelcome there at the moment.
Beat's actually from Crimea, so he can attest to that.
Oh, true.
I like your optimism.
Well, hopefully one day that's where I want to build a house one day. But yes, definitely Odessa, Kharkiv, Kiev, Lviv, you know, Dnipro. They're all sort of easy to get to. There's direct trains. All got their own sort of specific beauty in a sense. No, as far as tourists going to Ukraine, like I don't really see a problem with it. Like obviously it's at your own risk, and yeah, I try and tell people like yes, but at the same time, you know, you've probably got more chance of being hit by a bus than a missile. But once again, you know, it is a it is a lottery, you know, like yeah, someone does win the lotto. And so yeah, I mean, it's up to you. If be on the cautious side if you have to, and just wait. But if you are a bit more adventurous, understand the risks, you've done a bit of traveling in your life, you know, most of these people have probably ridden drunk on scooters through Thailand, which probably kill more people than anyone. So yeah. But if you do go over as tourists, do try and do something. You know, there's a lot of ways you can help. There's a kitchen down in Lviv you can cook. I'm not saying you have to go there and just volunteer your whole time, but yeah, do turn up and say you've done something. You'll feel good for yourself as well.
I think it's great that, and it's inspiring actually, that someone from New Zealand who's so far away thinks that it's important enough to go there and to do this work. So I really appreciate meeting you and hearing about what you've been doing, because I sometimes get very disheartened about how people in New Zealand seem to think it doesn't affect them.
Yeah. I mean, we're in an uphill battle, that's for sure. But I'll say one thing: the people that do care down there really care. So we're lucky in that sense. You know, the people that do care really do care. And like, I mean, yeah, we've got, I know it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. You know, we had people baking cakes the other day and they made $800. You know, I mean, yeah, people are being active down there more than just bonking vatniks. So yeah, and it's only a very small group, but they really, yeah, I know the majority of people don't care nor know what's going on, but the people that do really do.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and your insights.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for the call.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.